So I think there's some things. So who's letting in our guest?
I was gonna say, and do we want to just open up the waiting room so we don't have to open up guests?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
I would
don't have
do
a
that.
list that we're checking against. We don't have time, so
Paul,
we'll drop anyone who's not Rotarian like.
Paul,
Right.
how do you properly pronounce your last name?
Marchese.
Marchese.
Well, I'll just admit all that we're waiting, and then from here on in, it should be good. So welcome, everyone. Nice to see you again, Michael Harrington.
Hi.
Been a long time.
Yep.
We just left a meeting together about 60 minutes ago. Welcome, everyone. As you come on, if you're able to put on, go up to the rename and add your club name, that would be wonderful as we come along. And if you're able to mute yourself, we're hearing some background noise right now. And if you don't mute yourself, we might mute you, but please don't take it personally. And so if you aren't sure how to rename yourself, if you go up to your picture and you hover on the upper right-hand side, there are 3 dots, and you can add to the 3 dots. You don't have to give yourself a new name, but you can just add your club, please. Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to get us started because we promised to start you on time, and we promised to finish on time as well. So I've met almost everyone on the screen, but if I haven't met you before, my name's Ann Birmingham. I have the honor of being your governor for District 7090, our Best of Friends district. And I'm really happy to have you here tonight because we're kicking off our Rotary Web Talks. We do this the second Tuesday of every month, tackling different topics that are of interest to our Rotarians. And if you have topics that you're interested in, do let us know. I will share now, and I'll remind you at the end that next month we're doing social media. In November, we're talking about governance and clubs. So we're trying to bring you things that you say are important and share with you what clubs in our district are doing. So that's exactly what we're going to do tonight. And I have the honor of turning it over to our MC for the evening. You're in good hands, Michelle Stalwart Woods. Michelle is a very energetic, very passionate and compassionate Rotarian. She is an assistant governor, and she is also part of the Public Image Committee, and really has brought us much insight both through that and her specialty of social media. So Michelle, over to you, and thank you for being our MC tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending this evening. This is very exciting. A couple days ago, we didn't have that many people registered and the list kept growing and growing. So thanks for taking one simple hour out of your Tuesday evening to be with us tonight. We have a great host of sponsors, panelists tonight that we're very anxious to listen to. Experts sometimes in their own business field in this world, but who've definitely made these hybrid meetings work through Rotary. And that's what we need right now. So we have Kevin Sixby. He's from the Rotary Club of Jamestown, New York. He's part of the PM Club. They meet at noon on Mondays. We have Ralph Montesanto. He's a past district governor. He's from the Dundas Valley Sunrise Club. We have Paul Marchese. He's from the Batavia Club. And we have David Barry, who's from the Niagara Falls Sunrise Club on the Canadian side of things. So thank you so much, gentlemen. They are panelists this evening. We're very excited to get started. We're going to follow a format in the beginning where each of them is going to have a chance to talk for a little bit. And then we're going to go into some breakout rooms where we can have more detailed questions answered and just have a little bit smaller conversation going. So I'm going to turn it over right now. We're going to go to Ralph first.
All right, thank you, thank you. So my job today is to talk about two things as an introduction. What is a hybrid meeting, and why should clubs consider doing it? So first, hybrid is not separate sessions with some in person, some online, some social, and some sweat equity. This is a monthly set of meetings that clubs might want to follow, but is not what we are presenting tonight. Hybrid meetings means virtual and in-person occurring at the same time. It's the in-person meeting being online and live. So why should clubs consider doing hybrid VIP meetings? VIP meaning virtual and in-person simultaneously. You know, as COVID-19 begins to fade and restrictions ease, our communities will begin to return to normal. There will be individuals who prefer to meet in person, while others want virtual online meetings because they're just not ready. There are a variety of reasons for these two choices. You know, the need for personal fellowship, the dislike of online. I'm just not ready to meet in person. Virtual is a better fit for my schedule because I have childcare in the morning, or I have to work, or I have to travel. So the VIP virtual and in-person hybrid model can honor and support members. It can keep them engaged and keep them in their clubs. Potential new members would have a choice of being in the meeting venue or participating online. You know, if a club chooses to go hybrid, then it needs to ensure the meeting agenda fully integrates the two formats so that there is a dynamic interaction between the in-person and the online attendees, and no one feels like an outsider looking in. And Rotary International has said, no club should make face-to-face meetings mandatory. Rotate from in-person to virtual or offer hybrid options. So now the rest of our panel introduction will look at barriers to implementation, the technology required, and some comments from a club that has already implemented the hybrid model. So David Barry, you are up.
Thank you, Ralph. I was given the topic that includes the word barriers, and I really don't like that word because a barrier is like, it's no way of getting through. It means you cannot get through. And as far as I'm concerned, we're all capable of doing this completely. Two logos came to mind in terms of what I wanted to talk about. And the first one, of course, is Rotary. And the second one is, what is that? Nike. Remember that? Am I getting too old? Okay, and there are two messages with each one of those. The one of them is being the Rotary gear, which of course is service above self. And that's why we're all here. But the other one in Nike, I've used this for years, and it's just do it. And what you're going to find is that once you get into this, it's really not that difficult. It's a matter of I think, getting through some of the little wee obstacles that you'll find. It's the practice that you'll need to do, and you'll find that it's all not that difficult. The barriers are not unsurmountable. Okay, and I really only defeated by the failure to try. And what you're going to find is that every time you try it, you'll learn something, and that'll make it possible to go on. That picture on the bottom right reminds me of a dog we had, Becca. Becca was a terrier, a part Scottish. I don't know what it was, but he got friendly with the neighbor who fed him all the time. So he would jump over the fence. And of course, we couldn't have that. We put a little higher fence in, and then he would dig under the fence, and he would get through and get his little treat from the neighbor, and then come back. And finally, when I put concrete blocks underneath the fence to stop this, he would tear the fence apart with his teeth. So he really was going to try it, and he made sure that he got through there. There are two kinds of barriers to this VIP, as far as I'm concerned. It's the personal fear to fail. Yes, I have failed many times. Okay, and I've learned a lot every time I did that. So let's not worry about that. And of course, there's the technical sides to this. So give it a try and you'll find it a lot easier as you go through that. In fact, I think the good news is that you're halfway there. You're here in this meeting and you've spent a little bit of time about a year ago learning how to use Zoom. You've spent a little bit of time of how to get onto Zoom, how to use it, in fact, I'm sure that everybody, even myself, is learning how to mute and unmute. Well, I'm not doing that very well. And the point being here is that you're looking at Zoom as a tool. And you're starting to recognize that it is a tool that I can use to have a meeting and attend the meetings. Zoom is really something that I would say is going to be a tool that you can manage. In fact, it's as far as I'm concerned, after a couple of times using it, it got easier. You can start up and participate. The one thing that I want to understand is that Zoom's controls never change. They are exactly the same controls that I would use to participate, and the same tools are there for you to manage the meeting and become the host or co-host. So just a very simple example of this. We've always used the mute button, but I'm not too sure whether you noticed on that mute button a little up arrow, and the up arrow is going to give you a second menu that comes out. And that allows you to pick any type of adjacent tool that you have. So as the controller of a Zoom meeting, I take the example that I might have a microphone for the speaker in the room, and I might have a microphone for the audience in the room. And I can switch, you can see at the top there, select a microphone. I can, in this case, select one of 4 microphones that I might have. And it's very simple. When you're asking for questions from the audience, you switch to that mic and it comes up. So once you've used this once or twice and made a mistake probably the first time, but you get over it, you'll find it is extremely easy to follow through with. And here's what it really boils down to as the secret. And we've seen this before. Practice, 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 and it becomes a habit. So you know how to do it. As far as I'm concerned, I looked at this and I felt that I tried it at home many times. I set up in different rooms with my other computer. I set up in another room with my phone, and I connected it to make sure that I could work it out. So I practiced a little bit there. When I got to the restaurants, I found that I could do my best there. It worked, and really it's just getting better all the time. I made a mistake during every meeting. Don't worry about it. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, I accept the blame. Everybody laughs and they go on. Members accept the fact that it will happen. Okay. And the idea is after you made one mistake, you'll go on and never make it again. Members are very forgiving in terms of the whole thing, and it is not Hollywood. Okay, the perfection does not have to be there. In fact, a lot of people I can see the jokes because everybody's smiling because they've seen an instance in which somebody said, oh, it's not working. And it did work. So it is live and will never be perfect. So I want you to recognize that you can get over these things and go on. There's a couple of enemies, I call them, to the using the virtual meetings, and that's poor internet, light, and sound. And we can recognize that right away. And I'll give you a few little overviews of that. If your video or sound is cutting out, the problem is the internet service. We are using a restaurant to use ours, and their Wi-Fi is terrible. So I've just had them install a Cat5 line into there, and I can hook up there, and I don't have to use my Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi cuts the signal by half. So if you can get a category Cat5 or a Ethernet cable in there, but that's something that the restaurant did for us. You can turn off the video when you're not using it, when somebody else is presenting. You can don't use those virtual backgrounds, because really what happens is that uses bandwidth too. So these little things you'll learn. The other thing is light, camera facing away from the window, makes sense. Pull down the blinds, get a little darker, and use the artificial light for your control. And put a light in front of the speaker and turn the lights behind the speaker off. So these are simple little things that I'm saying. You might find you make that mistake once and you'll never do it again. And the sound, of course, everybody speaking in the room needs to be at the microphone. And that's the way it is. Otherwise, you cannot, the people in cyberspace cannot hear you. So you have to have that sort of tools there. But the microphone is important. It should be an omnidirectional. And I find in our club meetings, and it's small enough so that we can use it in one room. And I have it in my, when I use my camera, it has an omnidirectional microphone. So it's all built in one. It works quite nicely. It's a slight difference between the large room and a small room. So you'll find that you'll have some different wiring and that sort of thing. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, there will be hurdles, but they are not barriers. I want you to recognize that, first of all, you're going to just do it and try it. Okay. The second thing is that there's nothing that you cannot do. If you try it and it fails, you will find another way around it. It does work. And the last one, of course, is practice. The old joke of how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Okay, Hugh, you know it. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, so when you look at that, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a huge thing. Try it; it'll work.
We're going to switch over to Paul Marchese right now, and he's going to be talking about exactly what technology is recommended for a successful hybrid, or as some of us call it, VIP, which means virtual and in-person meeting. So take it away, Paul.
All right, I'm ready. Hopefully everyone can hear me. So anyways, what I do, I'm in the IT field for a living. So to recap, internet is a very big problem or issue that's potentially overcomable depending on your facility. That's one of the first things you need to consider. Wi-Fi, Dave did mention something about Wi-Fi. The old style Wi-Fi did have some issues with speed. The new Wi-Fi stuff no longer has that. So that really is no longer an issue on the table for hardware. But most facilities or places that you meet probably have some type of internet. The biggest issue that you're going to have is connecting to it. And once you get connected, then you need to move down on what do we actually need to run our meetings. And it's not much different conceptually than what you have in pre-COVID, virtual in-person meetings. Essentially what we're doing is having a real meeting and also having a whole subset of our populace and our members attending the meeting virtually. So we need technology to do that. And there are several ways to do that. And everybody worries about cost and all that. And mind you, you can spend a great deal of money and be totally cool from a technology standpoint. My personal opinion, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I don't think you need to spend boatloads of dollars to actually make your meeting usable. I mean, what you need is a laptop with a camera. And that's your minimum requirement. Your laptops typically have a camera and a mic in them. Not very good for a large room, but it may suffice initially. We in Batavia have a pretty large room. So we moved to what I would consider the next level We have a laptop that's connected to a Logitech. That's the brand that we recommend and I recommend. It's a 900 series high definition camera with high def mic. Those are available today about $70, $80, very inexpensive. You plug it into your laptop, it'll become the mic and the camera for your laptop. And we actually invested an additional $35 on a camera, old-fashioned camera tripod that we put the Logitech on. So now you have a stable camera that can be turned or whatever you want in the room. You need, and that's pointed at our typical, at our front speakers podium. You need some type of display for your audience that is not virtual, that's at the meeting, so they can see the virtual participants. Because the whole purpose of us having these virtual in-person meetings is to interact with the entire club, not have half the club interact with themselves on Zoom and then half the club interact personally. So you need some method to see them and integrate and talk to them and hear them. So we use in our case, we have used a projector, old projector, mind you, onto a screen. It works. We're planning on eventually replacing it with a television, probably a 60 or 70 inch television that you can see. The next piece is the microphone, and Dave Barry talked about that a bit. That's important, and we're probably moving. Barry, we now have handheld remote mics, but we'll probably be moving to a more wireless technology, not necessarily Bluetooth, but radio frequency. So then you don't have distance limitations and it doesn't break up. We connected our laptop into a PA system by simply a $6 cable. So now we can hear everybody on the Zoom meeting, and they can hear us because the Logitech camera picks up pretty much everything. Those are the basics, and I'm glad to drill down on all of them and talk about how you need to accomplish this, and how honestly how little you can spend. And don't forget, Zoom. There's a Rotary benefit for all of us. There's a discount on Zoom. I believe it's 20% a year. So if your club hasn't bought your Zoom or paid for your Zoom with the Rotary discount, you should go back and relook at that, because that's effectively free money to your club. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And Dave Schultz has placed into the chat comments where this is going to be located on our webpage. And the meeting tonight is actually being recorded. So for some of the people who weren't able to attend tonight and wanted to sign up anyways, they will be getting a link for this. And most of our web talks, if not all of our web talks, are actually able to be found on our website long after the fact. So, maybe when the winter snows blow and you don't have anything to do, you can look back on all what we've accomplished from last year. We're going to go to Kevin Sixby right now. And Kevin and his Jamestown Noon Club was the first club probably in the Western New York area, for certain in Area 16 in Chautauqua County, that started meeting in person right away, and also had that hybrid component to it. And he's going to be talking about what they've learned, some of the key aspects that they've learned in setting up these VIP or in-person hybrid meetings.
So yeah, and I hope everybody sees the screen here. This is actually an example of the display that we have. First off, I have to say that we are extremely fortunate. We meet at the Doubletree by Hilton in the city of Jamestown, and they had most of the equipment that we needed. So, before you go spend money, I would say talk to your venue. Where do you meet? Ask them what they have. When we used to meet there, we met in their ballroom. which was a projection screen, actually not very good quality. Audio was not the best. Before the pandemic, we kind of fought against an overhead sound system, or not a sound system, but air handling system. And when we tested that out, when we went there and tested it, the person who was in charge of scheduling their events, she looked at us and said, I think I have another idea. And she took us over into the restaurant, which they aren't currently using, at lunchtime on Mondays, and said, what about this? And so we plugged everything back in, and we were doing a sample with our board members, using this television, the PA system, and it was beautiful. We have very crisp television quality visual of those who are attending by Zoom. If a panelist decides to, or not a panelist, but a presenter decides to use a PowerPoint presentation, we just share that. The people in the room can see it. The people on Zoom can typically see it. But I will harken back to what everybody said. Mistakes are going to happen. We had an incident where our presenter shared their screen, and the way we had the TV and the computer set up, nobody who came in on Zoom could see it. But Rotarians being who they are, I got a message from one of them said, we can't see it. I said, I don't know how to fix this right now. But our presenter was very gracious and said, no problem. They emailed us a copy of their presentation. I emailed that on to everybody who was on Zoom, and they got to view it. Maybe not live and in action like we'd like to. We copied that to our website because we post all of our Zoom meetings to our website for viewing afterward. It's not a difficult setup. It takes a little bit of time. And I don't know if anybody here joining tonight's been in the military, but I'm sure most of you have been in business, and you need to teach people next to you how to do what you do. I know Ruth Lundeen is here tonight. She's from our club. She's following up in the executive path, and she'll be doing this in the next 2 years. So you need to make sure that you're not the only one who knows how to set up your program. That's a lesson that's really important. Don't be the only one in the room who knows how to connect all of the media so that both those joining by Zoom and those joining in person can enjoy the meeting the same way. We make mistakes. We learn from them. I was shared a video this weekend which taught me how instead of making everyone come to the computer, the wireless mic that's included with the PA system provided by the hotel, there's a way that I can connect that back, and effectively we'll be able to take that wireless mic, walk down the room, and share that information with the rest of our group. So always be willing to learn, always be willing to adjust. We run our meetings pretty well, like we did before. And the challenges that we had before doing a hybrid meeting and doing it today as an in-person meeting versus when it was just in person and hybrid, they're the same. People like to stand at the table, make an announcement, and you have somebody in a large organization like ours say, I can't hear them. Come to the mic. And smaller clubs don't maybe have that same problem, but being able to work through that and to nicely but authoritatively remind members, we have people who are both here in the room and outside. It's really important. I think we've had a lot of success with our hybrid meetings. No, they haven't all been perfect. We've been doing them since the beginning of June, but we are adapting, and we continue to learn the best ways to do it. I appreciate that everyone here, and again, as I say, I appreciate everyone here. I harken back, Frank Adamson's here. Frank Adamson last year when we were strictly on Zoom as our district governor, I think that was the most times our club sitting down here in Western New York, probably the farthest from a lot of the clubs, got to see Frank. And we have never felt better connected to the district by the ability to do these hybrid offerings. Our current district governor, Ann, she stepped right in. I was in a pinch toward the end of last year where we needed somebody to speak. And we reached out to Ann. Ann says, I can't come over the border, but because of the way we were set up, she was able to give a complete presentation to our organization. And it was as if she was in the room. And it was just a fantastic way to connect again with other members of our organization, bring other clubs together, bring the district together. And I look forward to continuing offering hybrid meetings in many ways for that reason. And Michelle Starwalt, she has also been more easily able to attend our meetings. Chautauqua County is not huge, but for those who don't understand, there's a middle divide. Michelle's in the North County, we're in the South County, and there's a travel district issue. It's called Route 60. Nobody likes to do it. It takes more time than it should. And this helps us better connect with Michelle. She chimed in on this month's meeting or this week's meeting, and it was fantastic. She was as if she was in the room making her announcement, supporting a fellow Rotarian. So I just encourage you to work with your members, work with your board members, and figure out how it works for your organization. We're a large club, so again, everybody's got to come up to the microphone. It's too big of a room to plan an extra microphone out there, but that's a small inconvenience when you factor in. We had 32 people attending this week's meeting in person and another 12 online. So we had 40 odd, almost 50 people in our meeting, and we'll continue to do this. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin. So now we're going to go out into several breakout rooms, and our panelists will be in each of those breakout rooms. You'll have, again, a little bit more chance to talk personally, ask some questions. We have, about 10, 15 minutes scheduled for that. And then after that, we're gonna all come back together, and maybe we might get out a little bit 5 minutes early, but this has been great information so far. And I'm hoping that from all this information and then the follow-up on the website that you can go to, that if any of you have not started the hybrid Zoom meetings yet and in person, this is going to get you going in the right direction. So Governor Ann, let's break out.
Great. So you should be able to just click on and join the room, and we'll see you back, and we'll give you an update, but somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes. Jonata, there should be a little button there. Same for you, Charlene. You might have to minimize a couple of things. And Donna, you may have to just minimize a couple of things on your screen. And then you're going to see a little, I think it should be a blue button that says join this meeting. Jonata, do you see that? Charlene, do you see something? No? Let me try, Charlene. I'm going to try moving you into a different room, and sometimes that will kind of push the system to make it work. So hands stand by. Sorry, I can't hear you. You're muted, but you should go. Hopefully you go now. Looks like you're going. And Donna. Donna, are you hiding on me? Donna, are you there? Hey, Sherry, thanks for putting that tip in the chat. That was great.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Everyone have enough time?
Yep, he had a great question though about recording meetings, and you know what the legality is. Do you have to tell everybody you're recording them? And in New York, you don't have to. Only one of the parties needs to know they're recording, and by definition, if I'm clicking to record, I already know. So that satisfies the requirement. But I would certainly recommend that we don't take that recorded meeting and post it to a public area of our website. I would certainly highly recommend you post it to a private area of the website. Club Runner fully supports that. So if you're using Club Runner's website, post it to your member side of the equation. And then you can decide whether that equates to a makeup or not. That's up to you guys.
Right. That's certainly how some clubs do it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I don't know, Michelle, how you want to do this part. Do you want us to pull on each of our panelists for one quick thought?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I'm only going to call on Kevin first because I was in that group and there was a lot of questions and a lot of active discussion. So Kevin, if you just maybe want to share one or two thoughts, you know, questions from that and your responses, that would be great.
And Michelle, I appreciate that. David, I'm going to defer to you from my group because you asked a really good, very broad question that I answered for our group, but I think our panelists should chime in on.
Okay, so I asked a lot of questions. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I think if I remember correctly, it was around the different roles and responsibilities for the people that are engaged in doing the meeting. So we kind of fleshed it out during that, you know, you try to start simple, but I could see there a need for like somebody to set up the meeting. What do they do? What's their roles and responsibilities? Somebody to facilitate the meeting, and what do they do? And then also maybe somebody to go around the room with a microphone to engage the audience and make sure that you're monitoring like the chat channel and that people are able to speak when they have questions. So I wanted to know if we have some guidelines or recommendations around that.
We alluded to that in our, we talked a little bit about that in our breakout session as well. For some clubs, that becomes a problem of you know, members unwilling to do this kind of stuff, especially in Sherry's smaller club. She just said that, you know, she has to do it herself, and you know, that's a great idea for roles and responsibilities for a club, as long as your club has the volunteer ability and want to be able to do that. And I'll give you a great example. Batavia, I had the great idea. It's like, okay, guys, everybody, I heard from Kevin that everybody has to come up and, you know, when they're talking, they come up to the podium. Great idea. I thought it was a great idea. It went over like a lead balloon at our club. Oh no, we're not going to do that. Okay. So you gotta step back and say, well, how are we gonna help the interaction piece? I think is really the big thing that everyone needs to conceptually think that we're all in one big room, because we want the interaction to happen. So it's extremely important that we have audio and video so that the Zoom people can see the in-person people pretty much at all times. You know, and that's really the key on that. And you don't have to have, like I said, you know, you don't have to have, you know, $1 billion worth of equipment to do that kind of stuff anymore. So I like that idea to have a roles and responsibility drill down or a recommendation. But I'm not sure how far that's going to go in a lot of clubs. I think in our club, we're going to have myself and one other guy volunteer to help out with the meetings. When I'm not there, he takes mine, and you know, when I'm there, I'll do it. Kind of. So, and it's most of the time I'm there. I'm one of those 100%ers anyway. So either I go or make up. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think there is the roles and responsibilities, but just being able to have some guidelines for clubs that are doing it new and they don't necessarily know what the different tasks are. Having some kind of list of the different things that people need to be able or capable of doing would maybe give them some help as to, okay,
Yep.
well, we need to have somebody that does this. We need somebody that is able to do this. I just thought it
I
would
think
be
it's a
more of
great
a
idea.
guideline as opposed to saying somebody needs, it's not you do this and you do that. It's more, this is what you need in order to run a meeting. And these are the things that have to happen. Like set up, this is the steps for set up. This is running the meeting. This is the steps for running the meeting, etc.
David,
I'll
we
just-
talked
Wonderful
about,
idea.
we talked
Etiquette
about
is
this in our
also,
meeting.
probably something that that should be discussed as well.
Go ahead, Governor Ann.
I was just gonna say, if you use tonight as an example, I'm the producer, Michelle is the MC, David Schultz is in the back watching chat and posting. And then we have panelists that are participating. And so having those multiple roles is a great point. I'll let you go on, Michelle, because I know we only have a few minutes and a
minutes
couple more
left.
groups to cover.
Past District Governor Ralph, any final comments or questions that you feel notable to bring to the full group here from your breakout room?
Yeah, I think the thing that we talked about mostly was that it's doable, and it might start small and you might struggle a little bit with various issues, but it gets better every time you do it. And the more you do it, the more you learn about the little mistakes and quirks and the things. But there are things that you have to have that work. I mean, you're going to have an internet connection that works. And if you're at a restaurant or a place that doesn't have one, you're up the creek unless somebody in the room basically has a really high data plan that they can use and it doesn't cost them a fortune. Now, some of the questions that were just asked, I just put something on the chat. And you can download it, drag it into your icon or your desktop, and it might answer a couple of the questions that you just asked in the previous group. Some of you will be able to download it. I know sometimes you can't. There's lots of stuff on our district website, but this is another piece that I got. So if you get a chance, drag it, read it when you get a chance. But that was basically it. They're neophytes. They're trying it. And it gets better every time they do it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And last but certainly never least, Dave Barry, would you have any questions or final comments from your breakout room?
We did spend a little bit of a time discussing the idea of the problems COVID has brought to us in terms of are we going to be at a position where we're going to have to say you have to be double vaxxed to get in? Don, and what we were talking about was that it sounded a little bit draconian to Donna, the only American in the group. Because we're going to have to follow the health system in Canada, and which is if you're in a restaurant, you've got to have proof. And so that's coming to us. The other thing that we discussed was speaker interference and getting noise. And again, it's trial and error. If the HVAC is a pain in the butt, then you're going to have to talk to the restaurant and they will shut it down for you during that period. If the crowd interference is there, then you're going to have to issue some let's be polite rules and follow through with that. One person I think asked about OWL, a 360 camera. Paul, help me out here. Do you know anything about an OWL?
Yes, I do.
It's just a yay or a nay to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's not something I would probably recommend.
Good. Thank you.
And Paul, you jumped in on a couple of these discussions, but was there any pointed questions or facts that you would like to share from your breakout room?
Well, I think I shared what some of the concerns were about doing some of the technology and the frustrations that people have with internet connectivity. And I actually suggested, hey, there's no reason why you can't have your meeting at a local park, as long as you have an unlimited plan on your cell phone. You can create a hotspot and instantaneously bring up a Zoom meeting on your laptop and have a meeting with it. And it works. We've done it. So it's one of those kind of things where it's not as good as having, great bandwidth, but you know what? We've all learned that it's not necessarily about perfection. It's about interaction. And the more things you try, as Dave Barry said, try it. If it doesn't work, figure out why it didn't work, try it again. And that's one of the biggest things. There is no such thing as failure. It's just, okay, I'm going to try a different way next time. And,
Thank you. Thank you very much. One final thought, if there are more questions that most of us still may have, feel free to enter them into the chat room, because as we're winding down to the 8 o'clock hour, our panelists will be given those questions, and then they will be able to get back to you via email. So you don't even have to put your email. We can look that up on Club Runner. But if you have any extra questions, comments from this evening, feel free to post them into the chat right now. And then Ralph, I actually didn't see your link that you placed into the chat, but that might have been because I was just coming back from the breakout room. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, it's there. So we'll make sure we pull it down and grab it as well. It's a great one. Yeah.
And then one of my final things that I want to say tonight is anytime I'm at these district meetings, I always take some pictures, and I will be putting them up on our Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram pages late tonight. So, first thing you get up tomorrow morning, feel free to like, comment, and share. That's how we're recruiting some of the younger people that we desperately need in our clubs to some future day take some leadership positions as well.
So as Michelle's taking that picture, if you don't want your picture to be included, you can turn your camera off, but you all look fantastic. And I just wanted to say two quick things as we're wrapping up. So first of all, thank you so much to Michelle as our MC, to Kevin, to Dave, to Paul, to Ralph for being our panelists. Also, thank you to all of you coming out and sharing your ideas and expertise. And a special thank you to Dave Schultz, who's the chair of our Public Image Committee, who's helped make sure that this web talk happened tonight. And I will also share with you news that just broke last night, which is our district has been recognized by our zone, which is the much larger entity under which we fit. And there are many, many, many clubs in our zone, and our Public Image Committee was just recognized for its outstanding work doing the website refresh. So congratulations to you, David, and to all. And if you want to check out the Facebook page, there's a fantastic interview with our district being shared out to all the Rotary clubs all over North America and beyond. So with that, thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you for joining us for Rotary Web Talk, second Tuesday of every month. Next month, Michelle's coming back, talk about social media. And in November, we're talking about good governance strategies on your board and with your clubs. You have other ideas you want us to cover, just send it to myself or anyone else that you think would be able to be help with that, your assistant governor, and we'll let you head out. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Have a great night, Ann.
Thanks, Paul. Glad you
Good
were
work.
doing a hybrid. He was doing a hybrid meeting.
Actually, I think I have all the equipment they talked about, so
Perfect.
within arm's reach of my basement here. So
Fantastic, Paul.
we're
Great.
putting it
Thanks.
together for them.
So Ann,
Okay.
before you go off, Michael has a question for you. Michael, ask the question. You're
Oh, you're
muted.
muted.
You're muted.
And this is why I was trying to reach out to you. On the meeting tonight, this was our first attempt at doing the full McCoy, so to speak. And Bill, who you had the opportunity to speak with, from North Carolina, Bill has some hearing issues in a whole bit, and said he couldn't really hear us all that well. He could hear us, but not all that well in the second row.
Yep.
What could you hear?
It was also a little bit weak, but I'm an expert at being able to eavesdrop. I have to do it when I run multiple small groups when I'm facilitating. I
Okay.
would highly recommend, I think you had a form of a mic, but I think you probably would have done better to have the cord and the mic that they were talking about, or possibly two, so you could get the second thing. So I could hear it, but my hearing is pretty good. My eyesight maybe not so much, my brain not so much, but my hearing was pretty good, but I could understand why he would say that.
Yeah, we've got a Yeti X, and it was one of them, and we moved it to the front row of tables, and we
I think
moved
it
it
should be in the
that
back.
way so we could all be within the field of vision of the Logitech camera. That's 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I saw that. I saw your mic was on the first table. Try it on the back table.
oh, we'd have to get a longer cable though. Okay.
Mhm.
Again,
Yeah.
your microphone has to be an omnidirectional one if you want to get it farther than straight in front of your the face and the speaker. So
Yeah, it was set for omnidirectional.
Okay, well,
but we'd have to get a longer cable for that. We'd have to, I don't know if I can, but we'll have to check that out. Okay.
The
One of
other
the
thing
thing-
I did, I had a business meeting yesterday. It was actually my first time doing the hybrid. And I found that between having my Facebook and my camera and my computer, so I had multiple ones, so I could turn different ones off, and then I could have my mic and my computer a lot closer to the people.
Yeah, I thought about that during one of the presentations about we could have like two microphones, but then you gotta have a control person.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
gotta
that's
have a
gonna
control
turn
person, but
microphones on and off.
yeah.
and
I just put a link-
sometimes the problem is in hearing is the speaker. I use a Wi-Fi speaker and I put it on the desk with the audience, so they can hear everything that is going through the computer system. Okay, so
But that's video, or that's a speaker, not
That's
microphone?
that's a speaker. And all I'm saying is in some cases, the microphone might be picking it up, but the speakers aren't following through. So you
Yeah,
have
we
to
used the
adjust those.
speakers, was it Logitech speakers tonight for the first time?
Yeah.
And they work really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Well, the
was
other one
really-
is, as Paul was saying, the portable mic or making people come to the mic were two
Yeah.
other things that really don't take a lot of
Yeah.
cost or money. But honestly, it was excellent. I knew it was was your first, but it was flawless from my point of view.
Okay.
There is also, I don't know exactly how to do it. There is ways to do closed captioning as people are speaking across.
Oh, really?
That's another consideration, but that's an issue for us in general in Rotary with some people in their hearing.
Paul just posted a link to a system that looks pretty good there, so you might want to download that link there, Mike.
It's
And-
a dual microphone. It's for karaoke, but it plugs right into the side of the laptop.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
actually control the volume right beside your laptop for each microphone. And then you can have one that goes out in the audience and then one that's up front where the people are speaking.
So do you not have any kind of feedback issues or anything doing that?
If you set it up right, I keep when I do, not with Zoom, but when I was doing DJing for weddings and the microphone went out in the audience, I often just kept my finger on the dial for the microphone that was going out in the audience and just kind of turned it down a lot of people forget they're not supposed to aim the microphone at a speaker, right? So they
Yeah.
start talking and then they aim at the speaker and you get feedback. So I used to be really quick on the dial to turn the microphone down.
Okay, well, we have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And like you experienced tonight, it was our first time with a full core thing. But I really appreciated your response because, well, we wanted to make certain that you were pleased.
You did great. Yeah, no, you did great. And, talk about practice. I mean, Dan practiced in the afternoon with me from his home with all the
yeah.
equipment to make sure it works. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was a
you.
great night.
Ciao, guys.
Thanks to all our panelists. Take
Dave-
care, everyone.
Dave, if there's anything that you wanted to assign to me from some of these questions, I'm afraid that you will send them to me.
I will.
And I don't know where our recording goes. I know it goes to a cloud, but is it on my account or is it on your account,
I
Dave?
think it's on Penny's. Penny will pick,
Yay, okay.
just coordinate with her. And David, I'll be in touch with you about getting you set up to help us add content to the website.
Thank you very much.
All right, well done. I thought it was a good night tonight, folks.
It was
All
fun.
I thought
you.
its purpose was to raise awareness and to take some of the pressure off people who are worried about doing it by listening to other people who were in the same boat as they are, but they were in it a few months ago and they're working their way through it like Michael's doing. So I think it was very positive tonight.
Great, good. Well, thank you,
I'm going to be
everyone.
phoning Michael on how to do this pretty soon. Thank you. Goodbye,
Okay,
people.
Night,
good
everybody.
night.
All right.